Hi, my name is Kelly Cheatham. I'm a digital learning specialist for Fort Worth ISD. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you a trick for sharing a Google Slides presentation in your Google Meet while still being able to see your students. So one of the things that happens when you share a Google Slides presentation the regular way, just by clicking the present button, is that it will automatically fill the entire screen, no matter how big your window is. And so there's a short little workaround that will help prevent this from happening. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and split our screen so that we can see both our Google Meet window and our Google Slides window separately. And so there are extensions that do this, but there's also a quick keyboard shortcut that works just as easily. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by separating out these two tabs into two separate Chrome windows. And to do that, all I'm going to do is click on one of the tabs and drag it down. And when I drag it down, notice that it separates it out of the current window that Meet is in and puts it in its own window. And now when I drop it, it's in its own window. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this particular window fill up exactly half of my screen. And so this is the part where we're going to use our keyboard. So on our keyboard, we're going to go and we're going to find the Windows key. It's typically located next to the Alt key. And then we're going to look for our arrows. And so for this particular window, I'm going to use the Windows key and the right arrow. So I'm going to hold down Windows and quickly press the right arrow. Notice that when I did that, my Google Slides screen took up exactly half of my screen on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to click on my Meet window behind that, and I'm going to follow those same steps, holding down the Present or the Windows button and then the left arrow this time. So Windows button, left arrow. And when I do that, notice that it fills up exactly half of my screen on the left-hand side. So now I can see my Google Meet window and I can see my Google Slides side by side. The next step is to go ahead and present our Google Slides. Now, when I present my Google Slides, if I use the Present button as a reminder, it's going to fill up the entire screen and I'm not going to be able to see my Google Meet window anymore. So instead of using the Present button, we're actually going to go up into the URL of my Google Slides and we're going to go all the way to the end. You'll notice towards the end, you should see a forward slash, followed by the word edit, and then there might be some additional information. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the word edit and everything to the right of it. And I'm going to delete that by hitting the backspace button. Now I'm going to replace the word edit with the word present. When I press enter, notice that my Google Slides will go into present mode, but it's not going to fill my entire screen, so I can still see my Google Meet window. Now our final step is to go ahead and share my screen with my students. And so I'm going to go down into my Meet, I'm going to go down to the Present Now button, and I'm going to select a Chrome tab. I'll then choose my Google Slides that I'd like to share and click Share. Now my students are able to see my Google Slides, but on my end, I'm able to still see my Meet window. So on my student side, this is what my student view is looking like. So they can just see my Google Slides. On my teacher side, I can see my Meet window side by side with my slides. Now there's one more thing we can do to make our Meet window even better. You'll notice that I am seeing myself in here as well as my students. And so sometimes that's a little bit harder. In particular, my You're Presenting to Everyone is really, really big. So I can go ahead and change the size of that. I'm going to maximize this window so we can see all of our options again. And then if you go and find your icon in the top right hand corner, you'll notice that next to the little pin, you have an option to remove that tile. When you click on that, it's going to remove yourself from your Meet window. And so now when I go ahead and use my Windows left key again, I'm not seeing myself in there as well. I'm just seeing my one student. I could then do something like turning on grid view to make it even easier to see my students. So that's another option as well. So to recap that, you want to hover over your icon in the top right hand corner. You're going to click on Show in Tile to turn it on or off. And then you can also use your grid view and turn that on so that you can see your students. All right, so those are just some tips to make presenting to your students just a little bit better, particularly when you're using Google Slides. If you have any questions, please reach out to me or to your digital learning specialist.